Hey, I'm John G.
Hey, I'm Craig B. Let's conversate. Boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants and boots and pants. All right.
Let's go.
Back to the hat.
Back to the hat this time.
All right. So I rolled last. You rolled last.
I rolled
time.
last.
I answered the question. So you want me to dig in the hat?
You dig in the hat.
All right. Better than digging in my booties, I guess. Huh?
The deeper, the better.
I didn't.
I don't think anything popped out.
It felt like something might have flown out of there.
Well,
Flied,
maybe.
flooned.
Maybe the pants have come off.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't pants off, dance off yet. Ooh.
Oh, no.
This one ought to be good. Heroes.
Oh. Are we talking like...
We're not talking superheroes.
No.
Because that's another topic that's in there. I know that. I saw that one.
Ooh.
I ain't got a trash can, so I'm just going to...
There you go. That works. I think that might have landed in my pants.
Oh! Hercules!
I don't know. I don't have a specific hero, I guess. My hero, I guess, would be a broader, I guess, our military. Like, they're the ones that give us our freedom at the end of the day and protect us.
Right.
I mean, them, first responders, all that stuff, the people that save lives.
Yeah. I kind of think those are the... I think that's the pretty typical answer, right? You know,
Yeah.
Military, first responders, right? Because that's what, especially in light of the last 2 years, right? That's kind of been... You know, that those are the heroes that we have, right? And those are the everyday heroes that we need to look at. But,
have worked their tails off.
Yeah.
Work their absolute tails off.
But my hero, the one that kind of sticks out in my mind the most, is my father.
Yeah.
Just simply because he passed away December 1st, 2013. And the last 5 or 6 years, he had a pretty rough go because of what ultimately took his life was complications due to chronic lymphocytic leukemia, which is cancer. But he was also a veteran, right? But going back and looking at how he was raised and kind of how he came from literally nothing. I look at where my family came from in the hills of the Ozarks and Missouri, right? Like a lot of my family still has nothing, but they're perfectly happy and content.
Yeah.
But looking back at my dad was one of 7, right? And I just happened to come across something the other day, and out of all of the 7, there's only 2 left. I have 2 aunts that are left out of his side of the family. But he basically picked himself up by the bootstraps at 16, enlisted in the military early because it was easy to kind of fudge those things back then because he knew, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to go wherever I can to make sure that I can lead whatever life I can to the best ability I have. And fortunately for us, he joined the Air Force. He got stationed where he got stationed. He met my mom when he met my mom. My brother was born. I was born, and we had an amazing life. Well, I don't have, buku money, but I've got a phenomenal head on my shoulders, and I tend to do as many right things as I can, more right than wrong.
Yep.
But I'm human. I'm not infallible. I'm going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
But a lot of that comes from the fact that, much like you're trying to do with your kids, right? You spend the time with them and you try and, you don't necessarily, when they're kids, you try and teach them what's right and wrong, right? But at a certain point, it also pivots and you come to become more of a guide, like a liaison, so to speak. And I'll never forget, like the first time I ever knew I was I was an adult in my dad's eyes was he had this knot on his forehead, and I don't honestly know what it was. I think he had a cyst or something get up on his forehead, and I asked him, I was like, because I hadn't seen him in a while. I think this was right after I had served in the Navy and had come home, and he had that on his forehead, and I was like, dude, what's that? He goes, well, your mom and I were trying a new sexual position. She got scared and ran under the bed, and I banged my head on the bed frame. I was like, oh my God, Dad, like what? But at that point, right, that was the moment that I knew that I had kind of crossed that threshold from son and father to my dad is, and you have to, like, I know you never really met my dad. You never really had many conversations with him, but my dad had all the, and you'll hear him come out in me, and it's called a Hankism, right? Because you talk about saying those things that just kind of get under people's skin.
Yeah.
My brother hates this phrase. I've slept since then. My dad would say it just to piss my brother off.
Yeah.
Because my brother is phenomenally good at
forgetting.
Not at forgetting, but he's phenomenally good at kind of pushing people's buttons, stirring the pot, and then sitting back and watching what happens. And so that was kind of my dad's way of getting back at my brother.
That's freaking amazing.
Yeah, like, hey, okay, I don't remember. I've slept since then. And my brother's like, I don't understand that. I don't get it. Like, what does that mean? You know? And so at that moment, right, like I started to see, because again, this was after my dad had his first kind of heart attack, right? And it was really kind of mild, but it was one of those things like, hey man, it could have been a hell of a lot worse than it was.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things like, okay, my dad's not immortal, right? Like
he's human.
He's human, and there's gonna be a point in time where he's gonna get something that he's not gonna be able to bounce back from. And so I think at that point, like my whole vision of how my father was shifted. And to me, I think it shifted to the better. But we did have a period of time where we were at complete polar opposite ends. And after that, I think at that point in time, after that kind of friction had happened, that's when I started to kind of realize, you know what, man, like, life's too short to continue to do those things and carry those grudges and harbor those negative thoughts and feelings when it's just easier. Like, okay, we have a difference of opinion, but we need to just get over it and move on. Because it's not it's not going to do anything because heartburn and heartache.
Yeah. So what do you think? Do you think a hero is a person that makes you better than?
I think a hero is a person who makes other people around them better.
Because I could say that my kids are my hero.
But your kids are being trained right now to be those.
But
you know what I mean?
They forced me to be a better person.
And I could see that.
So
you know what I mean?
So what does a hero mean to you?
Right.
Right? Is it somebody that you look up to just because you're supposed to? Is it somebody that you look up to because you think that they are going to make you a better person?
Right.
Do you always have to look up? Can you look down?
No, you can't.
I mean, I'm looking down at my kids now.
Right.
I don't know that I always will.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, both me and the wife aren't the tallest people, so more than likely they probably won't outgrow us. But
yeah.
Honestly, I mean, my brothers helped me a lot whenever I was younger. Because things in life. So they helped me a lot. I could look at them as heroes.
Yeah.
But I could look at my kids as heroes too. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Every day I try to be better because of them.
Right. And that's one of the things, like, because again, they're so innocent, right? Like they don't see the negative in the world. that's going to cause them to shift their focus, right? Like,
Yeah.
they go out, they play on the playground, and they're like, hey, you know what? This kid's off by himself. Why are they over there? Let's go over there and let's include them. As kids, they see that. As adults, we look at it and say, oh, well, there's what's wrong with this kid? Like, what and immediately it's like, what medical condition does he have that's taking him over there? But we shouldn't be that way. Kids, they have the luxury to those things don't come into their mind. It doesn't come into their thought process. So they look at everything from a very, very innocent point of view.
They do.
Because they're not shifted by the shape in the world.
Yeah, they haven't been molded to look a certain direction yet.
Right.
They have their own opinions about things, but they have them because they have them. There's a little boy in my son's class that drives my son nuts. Like, and I understand why. Like, I went to a Thanksgiving dinner in my son's class, and I can see why he's just kind of all over the place, and
is this who I think? Is this who I think we're referencing?
Yes.
Okay.
So I could understand why, and the kid was being, like, wanted my attention as well, and it was rubbing my son the wrong way. Like, that's my dad.
Right.
Back up, dude. But he's kind of all over the place and stuff like that. But the first thing that I told my son was, hey, you don't have to like everybody, but you still have to be respectful to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, everybody's different. Respect somebody until they give you a reason not to respect them.
Right.
Then you don't have to if you don't want to. But
yeah,
just because this kid acts a little differently or whatever doesn't give you the right to be mean to him or whatever, which he wasn't being mean. He was just, Dad, that's not my friend. I'm like, okay, well, you don't have to be friends, but
right, you
still need to be respectful to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and I think what happens is that, and again, I can only use kind of my frame of reference, right? Is that you have kids that are growing up now in many single parent homes.
Yeah.
And so they don't have that equilibrium balance. And I'm not saying that it has to be male female. I'm just saying it's a single parent home. It could be two guys, it could be two girls, whatever. It doesn't matter. But they're not getting that counterbalance to make them question what they're seeing, right? To understand the way the world works. Because for every positive, there's a negative. There's a yin and a yang, right? I fully believe in that, and that karma's a short bus with a long memory, and it will come back around.
Yeah.
And I hope that even in my grandson and your kids, right? Like, at some point, I want to be to my grandson what my father was to me. I don't know that it'll ever happen. I probably never be around when that happens, or if it happens, right?
Yeah.
But I want to make the people around me better, and that's what I think. That's what I think a hero is they have that ability to, and it doesn't matter. They don't have to be 70 years old. They could be 7 or 17 or 52, right? It doesn't anywhere in between there. They can be a hero.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when you mention the word hero, it's somebody who has sacrificed something significant to save somebody else.
Yeah.
But it's not, to me, it's not necessarily, there's a lot of heroes, right? There's a lot of military heroes. But to me, my hero is my father. Just because of knowing where, and again, I didn't know a lot of this stuff about him until in some of my final conversations with him before he passed away. And it was just one of those things, and I'll never forget. He's like, his literal last words were, I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm going to go right over here and take a dump. Those are the last words I ever heard my father say.
I wouldn't mind those being my last words.
Right? But to me, it got to a point that he just had, and most people who know my father, that like they never really saw that side of him. I think when he was active in the Boy Scouts, they might have saw some of that. Anyway, heroes don't have to be any certain age. So, like outside of your kids, who else would you possibly consider to be a hero?
I don't know. It's like, besides my brothers and like the typical heroes, like outside of them, I don't like, I can't place a single person. Like, I know there's a ton of good people that do really good things for the world. Like whoever came up with St. Jude's Hospital and stuff like that, the things that they do, like I could see them as a hero.
Right. St. Jude's wasn't that the founder of Wendy's, Dave Thomas?
Maybe. If so, that's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
But like that's a super super good charity.
Right.
Like they do tons and tons of good things for kid cancer and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess
I feel like that was Dave Thomas. I'm gonna have to double check, but I feel like I think that was Dave Thomas.
Yeah. And if you know, drop it down in the comments.
Like, yeah, absolutely. Hit us up and let
us know. Like, let us know who y'all's heroes are.
Who's your hero? And
and what it means to you. You don't have to get super personal or in depth, but let everybody know. Like that's a really good topic.
Yeah, because there's not. I think the heroes are fewer and fewer between anymore.
Yeah,
I think, and again, maybe it's just because of the world that we live in. Like right now, but another guy that I would think would be a hero to some would be Zelensky from Ukraine. Yeah. Right, the leader of Ukraine. He's a hero because he's staying by his people, and they're doing what they need to do, and dealing with the issues that they got over there. And then what's his name? Vitaly Klitschko. He's the mayor of Kiev.
Oh yeah,
but he's a former professional heavyweight boxer.
Yeah,
that's staying over there and just kind of doing what he needs to do.
That's what real. In that aspect of life, like that's what real heroes are. They're not the ones that, want to lead and make themselves a hero, but not be anywhere found.
Right.
Like Zelensky, I know he's being protected and all those things. I understand that.
Right.
But I mean, he went and visited that hospital and
he's out on the front lines with his troops.
Yeah, he's checking on those people, and I mean, I think that speaks volumes to those people over there because Ukraine going into this is very outmatched, and they've put up huge resolve as far as.
Oh yeah, their willingness to do the necessary, right? Because that's the atrocities that are happening over there right now because of the whole mindset behind why they invaded and those things. It's just, it's incredibly bad.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I could see a lot of Ukrainian men because they're staying and fighting. And even now it's impacting the women, right? Like they're wanting to go back home and fight against the invasion because that's their home, and they're going to do anything and everything they can to defend their home.
I think it's a lot easier to defend your home whenever you have somebody that's in the front line defending your home.
Right.
It's easy to sit behind a desk and in front of a green screen or in front of wherever and spout a bunch of nonsense.
Right.
It's one thing to actually put your boots on and head out with those people.
Right. Get up, strap up, let's go.
Now, at the end of the day, like you're not going to be taking fire because at the end of the day, they need you to uplift them. And if you're taken, then that can be detrimental to the country in general. But for you to put your boots on like they do and walk the streets that they're walking and support them in that way, like that's
right.
That's a pretty big That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it is, and there's a handful of people that do that, and like I think when I hear the term hero, because being a veteran, right? Like one of the things that I always go back to is those guys who gave up their lives to save one, two, five, 10 other people.
Could be millions, honestly, depending on what they did.
Yeah, I mean, you go back and you look at some of the things from Vietnam. They have a grenade thrown and
Somebody
would jump on top of the grenade and it took the grenade for their brethren, right? Because and that's the one thing that I want to do right now is for those of you that went to Vietnam and came home and weren't welcomed, I want to tell you personally, welcome home. Because being from a military family, I have a cousin who was MIA, and then come to find out he was KIA while he was over there. But he didn't actually come home until they discovered all of his bones. And I can't go into specifics on where it was found out because I don't know. But they were able to finally bring him home. But I have a cousin who is on the Vietnam, the moving wall.
Yeah.
The Vietnam Memorial Wall. And I know it was, you guys got crapped on when you got home, much like the brothers in arms that came back from Afghanistan. If you were a veteran and you were not welcomed home, I want to tell you personally, welcome home.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you guys are the heart and soul. You guys were the guys that, even if you agreed or not agreed on what you were doing, it was for the greater good of protecting everybody at home.
Right.
And it's one of those conversations I think that we've talked about a little bit on. We talked last time about how misused or misabused the military is.
Right.
For people putting their lives on the line. Maybe never their entire career, but in today's world, it's not ever. Sometimes you're overseas for 20 years.
Yeah, it's not a guarantee anymore on a lot of that stuff.
You should be treated a lot better.
Yeah.
A lot better.
Right. So. And I didn't stay in long enough to become to be retired, but frankly I was young and dumb and full of, as my mom would say, I was young and dumb and full of piss and energy, right? But
yeah.
But I've run out of all that stuff, but now the wisdom has kind of come in. And I don't fully recognize, and maybe that's the point. Like I didn't fully understand the amount of danger we could have been in, being in the Persian Gulf in that time, and doing the things that we were doing as a military, right? Because a lot of those things you don't know until you're confronted with it.
Yeah, I mean, literally one crazy idea by somebody could have changed your entire.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Career.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Absolutely, and like I give the utmost respect to any of my fellow veterans, because while I didn't go through everything that you did through, that you went through, like I know the depths of some of that stuff that you had to go through, and I know that. There was a trend for a while of 22 push-ups, because every 22 seconds or 22 minutes, right, there was another veteran that took their own life, and I think that's a shame. And regardless of your stance on war or your stance on the politics involved in war, you have to understand that there are people that are willing to sacrifice anything and everything to make sure that we maintain the freedoms that we have today. And I think what's happened is society as a whole has kind of forgotten that they've lost sight of
the
that.
principles of it all.
Yeah. America was founded on religious. We were fleeing religious persecution, right? But we also wanted to set the foundation for something that was going to be better. And moving forward, right? Like I think we've built society. We've built the great American dream, right? But I think it's getting crushed by a handful of people that don't respect those heroes that came before us.
Yeah, I think it goes back to everything in life, and we've touched on it a little bit before too. Like, it's so easy to take a few of the negatives to just ruin all of the positives.
Yeah.
For whatever reason that is, I don't know. I don't know why we all look at all of the negatives so more in depth than we do all the positive that's being done in the world.
I think I think that comes back to kind of what we just discussed a little bit earlier about we're trained to look for those things. Like we're not necessarily trained to look for all the positives that are happening. Like going back to the youth soccer league, right? When we looked at it, what did we always look at? We always looked at the negatives.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, it's all the things that give you all the heartburn that that you spend the most time on,
Right.
honestly. And it's always just a couple people that make those negatives.
You're right.
It's so easy. It's so much easier to do things the right way than to try to cheat the system and do things
Oh,
the
yeah.
wrong way.
Absolutely.
To make people that are trying to do things the right way not have to try as hard.
Right.
Like it's a lot tougher to do things the proper way.
Yeah. And I know because I know we have a topic in the hat, and I've been hoping that we'll get to it sooner rather than later. But the time and effort and energy put into the misuse of a lot of that stuff is much better justified if you just do what you need to do,
Yeah.
do the right thing, and pay it forward.
Yeah.
Pay it forward because again, you spend all that time and effort and energy on the negatives. What do we say? Okay, yeah, we have that problem, but how do we kind of nip this in the bud and move forward?
Well, and honestly, the people that are spending all the time and energy to do it in a negative way, if we could get more people, if we could get those people to spend that amount of energy to do it in the positive way,
Right.
how much better would everything
Yeah.
be?
Exactly. And it's so frustrating because you look at it from the perspective of our heroes are willing to give up anything and everything to sacrifice for the greater good.
Yeah.
They may not know what it is, but these other people are looking out for themselves, right? And they're using that time and effort and energy to deceive the public out of a handful of dollars or whatever. But if you have 100 people give somebody a couple of bucks, that person has $200
Yeah.
that really shouldn't have deserved it.
Yep.
Right? But they're using all these other mechanisms in place to make you think that they're doing it for a solid cause, and it's not necessarily the case.
That's a good point.
So I've just seen it, and in multiple different levels, and and my wife we could probably spend hours on that conversation with
Yeah.
the amount of the egregious misuse of public funds,
Yep.
right? That she sees in her day-to-day job,
Yeah.
and because of that, she's become biased.
She
know what I
has.
mean?
It's we've had to. My wife and her have had conversations,
Yeah,
and they don't see eye to eye on them.
Yeah.
Like, because of the world that your wife works in.
Mhm.
Like you said, she is very biased.
right.
And I used to be pretty biased too, honestly. The last couple years has taught me a lot as far as looking at things differently and accepting things differently and stuff like that. To where you can't let those few that are doing it the wrong way really change
Right.
your opinion and have it so skewed.
Right. And I think, and I fully understand where she comes from on it.
Oh, yeah, I do too.
Because if you're seeing that, and again, that this is, it's one of those things, like the hero conversation is kind of twisted a little bit. But if you're continuously seeing those same things day in and day out, what happens is you become numb to it. It's just odd, it doesn't matter. And so you try and do whatever you can to make sure that the people that need the most help get the most help.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it comes down to individually looking at, okay, although they may be doing this now, but were they always doing that? No, I don't think so. I think they got to a certain point where they were trained to learn how to do this and kind of perpetuate the problem.
Well, and honestly, as a society, we don't have outlets for some of these people that have
Right.
maybe done something wrong or whatever to rehabilitate them. Not everybody's going to be rehabilitated.
No, not everybody can be.
Not everybody can be. So, like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's people out there that are just gonna always do bad things, no matter how hard you try to talk to them or put things in front of them as positive outlooks. Like, that's just who they are for whatever reason.
Right.
But I feel like if we had more things in place, then maybe we would have less of the reoccurrence.
Right, and I think what happens is I think honestly, it comes down to the fact that people don't address emotions very well anymore.
No.
So, and if you watch, like, I'm at a point now where certain things happen in my life and I get emotional by it. Before, you would never see that.
Yeah.
You would never see my emotion. Like, I'd lock that shit away and you'd never see it. But now, because I have a little guy in my house that he's not my kid, but he's my grandson. My daughter's here, my wife's here. Like, those rough edges of me have kind of softened a little bit.
Oh yeah, man, I've become a giant sissy.
But it's not
Yeah.
even about that. Like, as a kid growing up, you're always taught, hey, if you don't like something somebody's saying about you, go knock their lights out. Why? What does it do? I said any male can fight,
Yep.
but it takes a man to walk away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's ever since I got married and had kids, it's the same thing, man. Like I break down on things a lot easier than I used to. And I think that's an important part of life.
Right.
For you to bottle things up and just because that's what people tell you need to do.
Right.
It's unhealthy.
No,
Like,
and that's why you need to have those outlets. And coming back to the veterans, right? That a lot of them are people's heroes, right? Is that they have an outlet, but they don't necessarily have the right mechanisms to get to those outlets to help them out.
Yeah.
And express what they've dealt with, right? Because in the military, I know for a fact that they've seen some stuff. They've seen a lot of stuff, and they've lost battle buddies right next to them, and they've dealt with those things. And so, but a lot of times they don't know how to express themselves because they're not those people. They're going to sit on a couch and talk to a therapist.
Yeah.
They're going to want to talk to somebody who's literally been in the foxhole with them or been in the trenches with them, because nobody else on the planet is going to understand what those guys have gone through than another guy that's gone what he's gone through.
Yeah, and
or gone what she's gone through.
And those people that are in those trenches, the person to the right and left are probably their heroes.
Yeah.
Because those are the people watching around them, keeping them safe.
I am my brother's keeper, and I got your six.
Yeah, like it's. I don't know. This is kind of a cool topic as far as where it started, now where it's coming to a close, and what that can actually mean.
Right. Because if you don't have a hero, be the hero for somebody else.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's and I kind of want to circle back and there's one other person that I think we forget a little bit about, because it's kind of an unspoken thing, and that you have those people who are raised in a household where they have perpetually been taught to beat the system and abuse the system. Single fathers and single mothers are also the heroes in my mind too, because they You don't know the struggles that they're going through.
They're being put into a system that's unrealistic to
Absolutely.
to even make it in life.
Right.
In today's world.
Yeah, absolutely. In today's world, they are dealt a giant ball of crap.
A single parent can't work a job, one job.
Right.
And support a family.
Yeah. And my thing is when the circumstances around my grandson evolved, right? And we kind of found out where it was going to go. I knew that they were going to need all the help in the world that they were going to need. That's why I do what I do. And that's why I'm at where I'm at, is because I knew that I needed to step up for them. Because even though I had already raised my daughter, my grandson was still going to need a counterbalance to what he was going to have to contend with. And he's got a monumental road ahead of him. Because he's going to have, at some point, it's going to dawn on him that his father's not around and has never been any part of his life, and he's going to have those questions.
Oh, yeah.
And all I can think of in my head is Will Smith in that episode that he had with, "Why doesn't my dad love me?" I'm terrified for that little guy, for that little question right there. So.
Golly, man.
I didn't mean to go there, but those two people are they're unsung, because there's millions of them that are doing everything that they can to try and raise those kids by themselves, and they struggle mightily.
Yeah, well, we have a system in place that makes it very difficult for them.
I have to take a drink. I'm sorry.
And then nobody thinks like about those things on the back end of. At some point, they're going to start asking, like, wait a minute, where's dad? Where's mom? Where's my other part, and why didn't they love me?
Yeah.
Why wasn't I important enough to them?
Yeah, absolutely. And not everybody thinks about that, but that's one of those things that with again, in youth we learn, in age we understand, right? You want to do everything you can to protect your kids, and I'm doing everything that I can possibly do to make sure that both my daughter and my grandson are protected and in an environment that fosters their growth to a point where when it comes to that hard conversation, he's going to see that the rest of the family picked him up and carried him when that other thing was kind of left behind. And so I want to thank you who are raising your kids.
Yeah, definitely. To
the best of your abilities, because the kids are the future of everything that this world is going to try and become. And even if you don't have the capability to foster that idea in their head, you need to allow them to spread their wings and fly and do what they need to do to get to that point. And again, be the change you want to see in the world, but also be that hero to somebody else that might ignite a wildfire in a change of difference and what we do and how we view things.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if we keep doing the same things over and over, I don't know, my whole purpose is to have a better life for my kids than what I ever had. And I've said that a few times now, but it's the truth. Like, I want them to see the world in a different way, to maybe not make it as ugly.
Right. And I've had that conversation with my daughter several times about this world is designed to knock you on your ass.
Yeah.
But true
character in a perfect setup.
Yeah, in a perfect world.
It's made to knock you on your ass in a perfect setup. So when you don't have that,
exactly, you're already behind the eight ball, so to speak, with that.
Yeah.
And then you don't have the ability to have those conversations with somebody else to give you that additional tool set to help you pick yourself up by the bootstraps.
Yeah.
Because that's character, right? Right. I think Rocky said something about it's not about how hard you get hit. It's about how hard you can get hit, get knocked down, and get back up.
Yep.
Right. And that's kind of the same thing. The world's going to knock you on your ass, but true character is
Yeah.
picking yourself up and moving forward. And that's how I'm going to leave this. Is if you want to be a hero, pick yourself up and use the resources that are out there to help move that forward.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Hey, so thanks for watching. Make sure that you go hit the like and subscribe. Make sure notifications are turned on so you get the latest videos. And remember, never stop conversating. If you want to send us topics, send those to topics@ConBroSationalists.com.